welcome to the Gothic Unicorn and to the second part of an exploration of my miniature accessories collection. Now, if you've watched the first part, you'll know that I just did some bits at random because I've been sorting things out. It was much overdue. This time we're actually going to be focusing on kitchen bits and food. And you'll understand why I've given this its own video very, very soon. Now, again, if you saw part one, you'll know that I've been sorting everything out, and I've used a lot of these takeaway containers and some other containers to divide things up. So hopefully I can find them. Now, this is the tub that I've designated for kitchen. It had started off as plants, but there were too many to go in there. And to be fair, I'm actually quite surprised that there's not more kitchen stuff in my selection. Now, I know there were. I know that I got rid of some bits that I was never going to use a long time ago. But I genuinely think that when I get to my kitchen, I'm going to have to expand what I've got to go in there, because at the moment it's not a lot. So the first thing you might notice is that there's a number of things in this box that are still in the bags, and I've got the first one, which is a big copper casserole dish stock pot with its lid all nice and shiny. Always handy. I used to have a lot of copper bits for the kitchen, but they got sold on because they weren't really in keeping with a modern kitchen. So we moved on. Then here I've got a jug of milk with a full glass. I'm not sure if I'd want to drink that milk, to be honest. It looks a little bit sour, but it has been in there for the best part of 2 decades. So maybe we'll give it a break. I've got a pretty little mixing bowl. This is one that I've bought probably at a show, but it looks like a real life mixing bowl. We've got a microwave which opens, although I've never had a microwave where the entire front opens, but it does open. It's actually made of wood. We've got a bread crock or bread bin, which again is basically the same as the big copper pot, but yeah, it's a sort of traditional piece. I don't know if I'll use it, but it can stay in here for now. I've got an electric kettle and a matching toaster, or at least it was supposed to be a matching toaster. They're different colours. I have to admit that if these, which are resin pieces, make it into the final house, they'll probably have a bit of a paint over. A bit of paint on them will make a real difference. Pestle and mortar. I think this might have featured in a previous video. And of course I've got my actual turned wood rolling pin. Just like the real thing. Really nice piece. Going back to things in pots, bags. These are actually pots in a bag. These are a set of saucepans. I'd forgotten I got them. I've also got some little patty pans, Yorkshire pudding tins, whatever you want to call them. Not sure why, but they're there. And then I've got 2 sets of plates and bowls. The one's had its top removed or has come out of its bag and gone into another bag, more likely. They're both the same. They're both quite heavy. I think they're painted metal. Then in the bottom of here we've got some metal tankards. We've got the knives and knife sharpener that go with my butcher's block. And then we've got this piece, which is a cheese tray. I'm not sure what you call it, a cheese keeper. It's basically a glass cloche with a tray on which sits a piece of cheese. I don't know why I bought it. It must have been the right price. I don't know if I'll use it as is or if I will dispose of the cheese, paint the brassy gold and put something a bit more ornamental on it. Anything is possible. Moving on from the kitchen bits, which has confused me because I'm sure that there should be more than that. I'm sure I've got things like knives and forks somewhere, but not sure what's happened to them. Now I'm going to move on to this box, and this box is full of mostly ready prepared foods, and on the top I've got a sack of spuds, a nice Essien sack of potatoes that, to be fair, wouldn't stand up like that. It needs to lie like that, which means it takes up quite a bit of space. So I'm not sure if that's going to go into my house, although I do like the fact that the potatoes have got dirt around them. I've then got, and I think I showed these in a previous video, two beautiful baskets of fruit and vegetables that were made by Angie Scar. These I like putting in my kitchen on the side, although I really don't think that in truth you'd have a basket of half fruit on the side in the kitchen. So maybe that needs to go on the side in the dining room when there's a nice meal laid out so that people can have some fruit afterwards. Again, I'm not sure. This bag contains jelly, or to the Americans, Jello. Now it's in the bag because I'm worried it is sticky, and I'm worried that if I put it in loose it will pick up every bit of lint, fluff, air, anything else. So it lives in its little plastic bag, and that is actually really, really wobbly and really rather cool. So yeah, jelly was a staple when I was a child, so it's a staple in my doll's house. I've got some random cake bits in here and some random fluff. Some of these, there's donuts, there's bits of cake that should be stuck onto the plates and aren't. I really need to have a look at it. But these are pieces that I've bought probably from eBay over the years. Moving on into the other sections, we've got potatoes being peeled, and the sort of knife that I remember being used for such a job from my childhood. I'm not doing a very good job of peeling those potatoes, it must be said. I'm sure my mother would have had something to say about that if that was me. Not that we ever used a bowl like that for peeling potatoes. And then this one, I'm not sure what it is. I'm not sure if it's supposed to be rice pudding or something with potato on the top of it. But it's another one that's a lovely piece of handmade food. Now this one, yeah, it's dripping. That is where you put the juices from the meat into a bowl so that you can collect the fat off the top. It's a very sort of old-fashioned thing, and then people would eat that on toast. Not me. Sorry, not me. I've got a little dip plate tray with vegetables and some chips, and some kind of dip in the middle. Oh, and one of the chips has just fallen off, I think. Oh yes, it's landed in my bowl of strawberries. I will have to stick that back into place. So I'll get a view of the bowl of strawberries. I like these, they're pretty detailed. I've got what I consider a kid's meal. It's supposed to be fish fingers. which I think the Americans call fish sticks. Fish sticks in the UK are something different. That is fish that is covered in a breading with baked beans and chips. I've got a salad prep board with spring onions, scallions, tomatoes, pepper, cucumber, and I think there might even be radish there. And of course you've got some lettuce. Very nice. We've got a plate of spaghetti bolognese. We've got a meat pie, which somebody's already been at. And we've got that good old British classic toad in the hole, which is actually sausages that are cooked in batter. No toads were hurt in the making of this meal. We've got this one, which is supposed to be lasagna, but to be fair, I've never managed to make a lasagna that has stayed like that, so I'll take their word for it. I've got a burger in there, and I've got another meal prep board. This one is for the spaghetti bolognese, because it includes a storage container with spaghetti in. Quite cute, but a piece that I've had for a long time and wouldn't necessarily buy now. I've got some very interesting looking sandwiches, croissants for breakfast, a jug of custard, and an orange juice prep board. I quite like that one, although I think it would take a long time to get a jug of orange juice with a juicer like that. I think we'd all much prefer these sort of more modern mechanical juicers if we were going to make a jug. This one has got potatoes, more potatoes, vegetables. There's a lid for that one. It's got some Yorkshire pudding, which are batter, and they're a savoury dish that are eaten with a roast meal. I've even got the good old English roast beef, although to be fair, yes, it's good old English roast beef, it's rather well done. And again, it's got some Yorkshire puddings on the side. I've got a pizza in the bottom, and I've got some English cooked breakfast in the pan, although you wouldn't cook everything in the pan like that. And then I've got 2 plates with it on. I'm afraid those beans do not look very attractive. The last section has got sweet things in. Now I've got this cake which came from a lovely maker in France, and in here there is the missing slice that would have fit in there, sort of chocolate orange gâteau. I've got a fruit tart, some kind of cherry pie, another cherry dessert, a strawberry dessert that may or may not have pistachios on the top. I'm trying to come up with real things that might be little green bits sprinkled on the top of my pudding. Some cherry bakewells, some donuts, a jar of strawberry jam, complete with its own spoon, and a preparation board for doing scones. Scones with cherry jam, and I think that's butter, no cream in this one. So this is all my prepared food. Well, it isn't, because I do actually have some Christmas boards. I've got a board for gingerbread and I think mince pies as well. But these are really useful to put on the side in your little miniature kitchen, and it just looks like somebody's doing something. Moving on, we have food that is suitable for the pantry, the freezer, the fridge even. And what I've done mostly with these is I've picked up things that have some kind of meaning to me. I mean, obviously the first one that I'm going to pull out is the breadboard with the cut loaf. Although, to be fair, although that is a lovely piece, that's not really something that would be in my home on an everyday basis. I'm more likely to have a loaf of sliced bread, and this is a loaf of sliced bread, and this is a extra thick loaf that's designed for toasting. I know that my family would be incredibly pleased if that was what they found in the cupboard. So yeah, loaf of bread. It isn't a loaf of bread actually, it is just a packet, but I think it looks really effective, just as the little tiny packet of butter is. Anchor butter is something that you still get here in the UK, and you know, you want the brands that you recognise. Obviously the brands that I recognise aren't going to be the brands that are recognised by people all over the world necessarily. Of course, everybody will recognise the egg box. Might be different sizes, but this one has just been done with possibly even a bit of a real sized egg box to hold half a dozen eggs. Now, I know that in some parts of the world you buy your eggs in much larger quantities. Quite often do over here, but that's appropriate that you do still find the half dozens. And to go with that, I've got the broken egg, which I find absolutely hilarious. A broken egg with the two halves of shell, so you can put it on the side, on the floor, wherever. I've also got a small carton of milk. It's less common to find cartons of milk like this these days. They tend to be plastic jugs, but it wasn't so unusual when I bought it. And in there as well, I've got some bacon and some sausages and some black pudding. Now, I'm not going to go into the black pudding for those of you who don't understand what it is. And if some of you look at it and think that it looks like it is something that should have come out of the wrong end of an animal, well, yeah. The black pudding horseshoe does look a bit unusual, but as I say, I'm not going into it, but it is a sort of traditional food over here. The others, I've got fruit juice. I don't even know if they still do Five Alive, but it was a brand that I remember. I've got mustard. I've got tea, PG Tips, a brand that is still going, but this is an old-fashioned package of it. I've got OXO cubes, which are sort of like a stock cube. You can make meat stock out of it. And then I've got gravy browning. I remember having boxes like that when I was a kid. And then there's cling film, that is plastic wrap, saran wrap, and the other one next to it is kitchen foil. Ironically, they're not branded. I say ironically, I used to work for a company that made most of the big brands in this country, and I think that maybe if I get round to it, I should miniaturise some of them just for old time's sake. I've got jars and bottles. I've got Heinz tomato ketchup, sort of glass bottle shape. It's not perfect. I think actually somebody's used a Coke bottle to make that, but it's not too bad. And I've got some marmalade, which is branded. I've got, let's see, Elman's mayonnaise, coffee, our wonderful brown sauce in the UK. I've even got, well, that's lemon curd. What's this one? Is this one more? That's more mayonnaise. I've got all kinds of things. Oh, and that's Nutella. I think that's a brand that's known in lots of different places. Again, as I say, these are brands that are recognised by me and my family as being a part of our lives. I've got custard powder. Now, this has even got, I don't know if they'll come out, little packets of the custard powder inside. And when I was a child, I can remember boxes like this. Bird's custard powder actually has a really interesting history because it was invented by Mr. Bird because his wife couldn't have, I believe it was eggs. And so he made a powder so that they could make custard without using eggs. And this is an old-fashioned sort of packaging. Yeah, well before my time, I reckon. But it's an interesting little bit of a British history. I've got biscuits in here. I've got brandy snaps. I've got some Scottish shortbread, which is rather nice. And this has actually got little pieces in it, I believe. Oh yes, it has. Let's see if I can. And they look like little shortbread fingers, complete with a couple of dots on them. Some of these pieces that I've bought over the years have got so much detail, it is ridiculous. Now, unfortunately, during a time when I did not have access to my doll's house and the contents, somebody came along and decided to open a lot of the boxes to find out what was inside them. It's still a bit of a sore point with me. So, yeah. I mean, this one is some chocolate finger biscuits, and I don't know how well the rattle will pick up, but it rattles, there's contents. And I've also got some very British biscuits. I've got digestive biscuits, which are sort of like graham crackers, but not, I believe is how somebody has described them. And they have got, if I get that in there, it's open and there's a biscuit sticking out. And then I've got the chocolate version, far preferable, much better. And then I've got some ginger biscuits as well. Good old McVitie's ginger nuts. Although if they were that size, they wouldn't last very long. This section has got some more classics. We've got underneath everything some Mr. Kipling's apple pies. We've got some dessert mixes, and we've got the ubiquitous Viennetta. Now, Viennetta is an ice cream cake that was the height of sophistication at one point in the UK. I have no idea why. Maybe because most people didn't have freezers, but yeah, it was always a big deal if somebody had a Viennetta. I'd prefer these Tunnocks tea cakes. These are the dark chocolate version. And Tunnocks, who are a Scottish company, make some of the best sweet treats. And I'll pop that back in there. And then I think these other ones are all frozen foods. I've got Bird's Eye. That's a brand that I think is recognisable. And then I've got a lot that are supermarket brands and some more British brands with some microchips and micro pizza and microwave sausages, which were never very good in real life, and some supermarket ready meals, which were a bit of a joke at the time, because when I bought them, my partner at the time loved these kind of supermarket ready meals. I didn't. I still don't. So maybe they'll go, but they are definitely a little bit of British history in miniature. My final tub that I'm looking at is more foodstuffs. I've got breakfast cereals. Obviously there's Kellogg's. Now I'm sure I had more cereal than this. The fact that I've only got 6 boxes makes me wonder what I did with the rest. Did I get rid of them at some point, or did little fingers walk off with them? I don't know. I'm not going to dwell on that thought, but obviously I pick cereal brands that mean something to me. In the next one I've got tinned foods, and most of these are actually Ein's. I've got an old tin of Ein's beans, and then I've got some other Ein's soup. What's this one? Oh, that is some tinned fruit. I've got, oh, Ein's tomato soup. Oh, a tin of pilchards. Yeah, not something I would want to eat myself. I've got a tin of, I had a tin of Lyle's golden syrup. Tate & Lyle's still going. They make golden syrup, which is yeah, incredibly sweet and incredibly Moorish. And that's the kind of thing that I've got in there. There's not much in the way of tinned foods, mostly because I was going for more modern cans. That is something that I will probably, when I come to do the kitchen, add some up-to-date labels and things to the pieces. The one in front, well, this is drinks. Lots of beer bottles. There's another one of those somewhere. I've got some vodka, complete with the glass. I've got another jug of milk that looks more than a little bit rancid. I don't know. I don't know what they used, but it went off. I've got the wine bottles that go in a wine rack. I've got some cans of what is supposed to look like Pepsi. I think, you know, most of us can recognise that as having been a Pepsi tin at some point. And I've got the bottles that are definitely supposed to be that iconic Coke bottle. That's about it in here. There's a couple of, there's a beer that, to be fair, is not a very good looking beer. It's not very full. There's more head than there is actual beer. Some lemonade. Lemonade in a glass with a slice of lemon on the side. And some kind of ice cream float with a straw sticking out of it. I don't know. It just looked good. Oh, look at a water bottle. Well, somebody's got to be good, haven't they? If somebody's going to be drinking all this wine and beer. Moving on, we've got some more sort of basics. These are, again, brands that I remember. I've got Flour, Own Pride. I've got some Whitworth's granulated sugar. Apparently it's naturally sweet, and it rattles. I dread to think what's inside it. Some of these are unbranded bags, packets that I bought at some point. I've got sugar, I've got mixed peel, I've got raisins, and I've got currants. Somebody was obviously planning on making some kind of fruit cake. This one is fruit and vegetables, and again I thought I had more than this. I've got this lovely bowl of apples. They look like you could just pick one up and take a bite out of it. I've got a punnet of mushrooms. Now, it's been a while since I've seen a cardboard punnet like this full of mushrooms, but it's certainly something I remember. And I've got some loose mushrooms in here as well. I've got a net bag of oranges, some cauliflower. There's actually 2 cauliflowers in there, and this one is, I believe, supposed to be some kind of cabbage. I've got some beetroot with their pretty coloured leaves, and then in the bottom there's onions and carrots and tomatoes in various states, and there is also a ready cut cucumber, which I don't know how well the camera will pick up, but you can actually see the seeds inside it, which is kind of cool. The last segment is my favourite. This is the one where I have put the sweets and snacks. Now this one is still in its bag for one reason and one reason only. It's got loose pieces. Now this is a box of Maltesers. And you can see the contents, and obviously you've got some loose ones, and it's brilliant. I really like it. Now I have a box of Maltesers that's closed, which great. And I also have, if I reach down here, a bag of Maltesers. Yeah, might just have a bit of a Malteser problem in my doll's house. Now I've got some boxes that are supposed to be chocolate Easter eggs. I've got 2 buttons ones, and I've got one that's got Andy Pandy on. Why, I do not know. I've obviously picked them up at a doll's house fair and thought they were great. We've got Pringles, and we've got Bassett's licorice all sorts. Now these were perhaps my dad's favourite. He certainly liked them, and yeah, I like them too. Although I would love to know what's inside there. I'm just not prepared to ruin the packaging by opening it. I've got some more sweets in here, chocolates, even some cough sweet type things, bars of chocolate. I've got some more licorice all sorts that are coming out of a paper bag. That's kind of cool. What's this one? Another box of Maltesers. I definitely have a Malteser problem. Oh, there's a bar of chocolate, if I can get it, pick it up. This is some peppermint chocolate. Yeah, real brands, you know. This is British stuff. Obviously, it's going to be alien to anybody potentially outside of the UK. But I've also got crisps, chips, individual sized bags of Walker's crisps, different flavours, because, well, I could, including a Marmite flavour. I don't know why. It must have been a buy so many for so much and just got a mix. I've also got my sweets, my bonbons from my French maker that I think I included in a previous video. And this piece is signed underneath, although I have no idea who actually made it these days. And yeah, I've even got, these are little love hearts, which are wrapped up in plastic, and then the wrapper. It's not actually sweets, it's actually a piece of toothpick or something like that, but it looks very effective. And I think, judging by the food I've gone through, the people in my doll's house have got something of a sweet tooth. Yeah, a lot of a sweet tooth. There's a lot of sweet stuff. But maybe that's because there are so many amazing makers making amazing miniature sweets and sweet things. Then again, there's a lot of amazing makers making miniature fruit and veg, and that hasn't appealed to me just as much. I think that says as much about me as anything else. Thank you for bearing with me at the moment, and I am fully intending that normal service will be resumed as soon as possible. As I said in the last video, this is a sort of necessary fill-in while the Gothic Unicorn is relocating. Hopefully it won't take long for me to be back to making some really cool things, or maybe not so cool things depending on your point of view, but I will be making again soon, and I've just sort of done this and the previous video like it to sort of, quite frankly, keep the content coming. So thank you for bearing with me. I hope you've enjoyed this little look into my miniature food collection. It certainly made me wonder where I was when I was buying this stuff. And yeah, so like, comment, subscribe. But until next time, bye.